actually invite the director of the film, Peter Sollett, on first.
Oh boy.
Is Peter coming?
Wendy?
No, me first? Okay. Hi.
All right, great. Peter Sollett, the director. Ellen Page, one of the stars of the film, and Michael Schamberg, the producer. So, do you guys want them to stand together for a photo quickly? Sorry.
And finally, I have a granddaughter. My joke is that babies won't say they'll have a person in the
And why did this story, I mean, it's such a visceral, emotional, moving story. Why did it grab you when you first heard it?
Well, I think it was just a really beautiful love story, you know, and these women just had such unbelievable dedication towards one another. And Laurel went through something that was just so unimaginable, like to spend your entire career protecting the citizens of New Jersey and then to you know, be denied your rights as you're dying. And to have, you know, to be with the love of your life who you expect to spend your entire life with, and the house you have together, and then that just starts to fade away. It was just so heart-wrenching, and it felt like such an unnecessary situation. And I just felt like, you know, so grateful to be a small part of telling their story, because what they did was so crucial and so important.
And you met with Stacy quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. So did Julianne, so did Ron Nicewater, so did Pete. You know, Stacy was so generous and available to all of us. And as you can imagine, talking about this time and this experience and Laurel is a very emotional experience for her. And I think, you know, we just wanted to make her feel safe, and that we were going to make the most authentic, truthful thing we possibly could. But yeah, she was probably the most valuable asset in regards to telling the story.
Okay. And Michael, to back up with you, the documentary you mentioned is directed by Cynthia Wade. When you first heard of these women?
I think I need a mic. Yes, what happened was I went to, in those days I'm an Academy member, and in order to vote for the best documentary short, you actually had to go to a single afternoon screening. And so I went and saw all 5 documentaries, and this made me cry, and I came back and told my partner Stacy Scher, and she said we should do this. So we decided to option the documentary just because it was such a powerful story. And we've done a lot of true stories. We've done Erin Brockovich, World Trade Center, Man on the Moon, Freedom Riders, and true stories are wonderful. Movies are myths, and true stories are more potent myths because they actually happened. And if you have a movie that has a positive message, not necessarily a positive ending because Laurel died, which is sad, but a very positive message, those are just wonderful movies as a filmmaker to sort of get your hands on. And the other thing was that the documentary only covered a slice of the real Laurel's life, because Cynthia Wade came in and made it when she got wind of her testifying in front of the freeholders. So we knew we could expand it. If it had been about her entire life, we'd just be recreating it. But here we could take a slice that was in the documentary and expand it to the story behind the story.
Great. And Peter, I guess you got sent a script, or were you involved before the script stage?
No, I was sent a script by Michael and Stacy, and it was written by Ron Nicewater, who we've mentioned, who is somebody I've known for many years, and I hadn't read anything new of his, and it was an incredibly moving script. It was really the most beautiful love story I had ever read, and Ellen was attached, and I immediately wanted to be involved. I sort of felt like that piece of material with Ellen in this role was something that was going to be fantastic.
And at what point did you all try to get Julianne or convince Julianne to join this project?
We were helped by her agency, CAA, in getting Julianne, who, you know, and then Julianne, of course, wanted to work with Ellen, and she met Peter, and she just fell in love with the story. And there's a funny story because when she read the script, it starts out, as you know, if you've seen the film, as a cop movie. And she said, I'm not going to do a cop movie. And then she read it more and more and realized this is really a love story, as Peter said. And I'm very proud that we made it as a love story first and a civil rights story second. I think it's really important. And it's the only movie on the subject of gay rights that's about real people and focuses on the relationship and the cost of discrimination to that relationship, which I think is an important, I don't mean important like we're going to change the world, but as a filmmaker, it's nice to be able to put a message like that out there.
And I'm going to open it up, but just one more question for Ellen is, how did you work with Julianne? Because I think this relationship feels so real on screen, from that, sort of slightly awkward first date through to somebody, losing the love of their life. How did you two decide how you were going to talk about these roles? Did you spend a lot of time together just talking or rehearsing?
We spent a little time rehearsing, and I think we just sort of immediately were, I would say Julianne even more so. I don't know if she thought, I was probably more obviously the more nervous one to be working with Julianne, and we were just immediately very close, physical, sort of always connected, and we got along immediately, and we really formed a partnership. So, hopefully, yes, that's evident on screen, and off screen we were just always teasing each other, touching, very coupley, honestly. And I think, but it felt very natural to us. It didn't feel like some sort of forced, engagement. It was very, very natural for us. And yeah, so hopefully that, is felt on screen.
Great.
Yeah.
And I think we'll start with some questions. So do we have a microphone coming around? Because we've got a question in the front row here. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. First of all, congratulations on the movie. We saw it today in the press screening in the morning, and what was kind of interesting for me is that people were laughing a lot of the time, and then at the end was crying, and you heard everyone snobbing and so. But I was very surprised. I didn't want to see anything or read anything about the movie before seeing it firsthand on myself, and then I was also very kind of surprised, and in a good way, about how comic the film is and how funny it is, because life is funny and sad. So was that always the idea from the start? Was it also so in the script? And how did the people, the civil rights people, that was based on Steve Carell's character and so on, did they take the movie good because they were portrayed in?
Just to answer briefly, it's a two-part question. One of the most satisfying experiences I've had as a filmmaker was showing it to the real Stacy, the real Dane, and the real Stephen, who obviously were moved by it, but thought we'd done the best job, and it was accurate. And just very quickly to your other question, it's got a really interesting structure. Is just when Laurel is getting sicker and is going to die, Carell's character, and by the way, Carell's character is exactly like the real guy. The real guy is as flamboyant as Steve plays him. It's not like we needed to kind of ham it up. So now you're laughing at the end when the story's getting tragic, and that's really difficult to pull off, and yet I think it makes the movie, like you said, more like life.
There's another hand up.
Congratulations on a great movie. Ellen, this is a question for the Progressive magazine, and I'd like to know what you think is the situation for women in general in Hollywood now, and in particular for gay women in Hollywood.
Gay women, how do you mean? I don't know what you mean.
I mean, within the industry, working within the industry, are gay women accepted? Here at this festival, there's a focus on women's films and women directors. And as we know, in Hollywood, there are very few women directors. And I'm just wondering, as you produce this film, as well as co-starring in it, what you think is the situation in general of women in the Hollywood industry.
Yeah, well, obviously, statistically, there's less women behind the camera, there's less women composing the music, there's less women writing the stories, there's less women acting in the movies, and particularly in, the roles of a protagonist, say. I feel like the conversation's happening though, or that's shifting. Hopefully, it's going to shift in regards to more diversity in general. Because if you're a woman and you happen to be an African American woman, a First Nations woman, or what have you, then your chances are even far more limited, and your stories aren't being told. I think what we're seeing in television is a reflection that audiences do want more diverse storytelling. They want to see other stories and are responding to that. And I feel like the film industry is going to hopefully start following that path. Yeah, so hopefully that'll keep changing. As a gay woman in Hollywood, there's not that many out gay women, so it's hard to really come to some sort of consensus of what that means. I feel grateful. I feel like I'm very fortunate to have had many wonderful opportunities, and I'm getting to produce and work with wonderful people. So I'm feeling grateful for what options and opportunities I have.